Recently, a YouTube influencer reported that a group of Chinese tourists at a food court in Singapore loudly discussed how Singapore, as a small island nation, should be integrated into China to achieve better development. This comment quickly ignited anger among locals. One person responded directly saying, "Who are you to speak for us? Singapore has four official languages, and we're proud of our unique Singlish. Please, people from a quote, strong country, put away your arrogant attitude. Not all Chinese around the world want to be like you." This incident highlights how some Chinese tourists, influenced by nationalistic rhetoric, often show a lack of respect for local cultures when traveling abroad. For example, Chinese people have commonly used the nickname Singapore County to refer to Singapore, a term originated from early Chinese immigrants to Southeast Asia and commonly used in online Chinese communities. The nickname stems from Singapore's small size, just over 700 square kilometers, leading people to jokingly call it a city that's also a country. Overseas Chinese students and people often refer to it as Singapore County. Other variations of the nickname include Singapore Island and County Director, which target Singapore's former prime minister. So, how do Singaporeans feel about these nicknames? Let's find out.
I hate it when people say Singapore is small, calling it county or a tiny, insignificant place. Please, judging a country's worth based on its land size is like judging a person's morals based on their height. Does that make any sense? It's shallow.
Why do people from mainland China like to refer to Singapore as a country? The term first became popular within immigrant communities and even spread to mainland China. There's no ill intent behind it, it's simply a way to describe Singapore's small size. However, when you look closer, there's another layer of meaning. Some mainland Chinese feel that such a vast country as China should not be compared to a small nation like Singapore, and this can come across as condescending. Others see it as a lighthearted joke, a term of endearment from Chinese people towards Singapore, just a piece of internet slang. But considering that Singapore is a sovereign nation with a highly developed economy, much better social benefits in mainland China, calling us a country, is it really that respectful? It's not just the term county that shows a lack of respect for other countries. In August, when mainland Chinese passengers in Thailand aboard a Lion Air flight demanded that the flight attendants speak Chinese, Singaporean Chinese also spoke out, expressing how embarrassing they found the situation. A mainland Chinese passenger forced Lion Air flight attendants to speak Chinese. But when the attendants couldn't, she threw a tantrum as if she hadn't taken her medication. At first, I thought this passenger was in China, on a Chinese airline with Chinese crew, so it would make sense if the attendants couldn't speak Chinese. But no, she was in Thailand, demanding the attendants speak Chinese. What's strange is that this woman, while in Thailand, couldn't speak Thai, yet she questioned and blamed the attendants for not speaking Chinese. The airline she was on, Lion Air, is Indonesian, and the attendants were either Thai or Indonesian. So, why couldn't she speak Thai or Indonesian? How could she still have the audacity to complain about them not speaking Chinese? As a Singaporean Chinese, I find this embarrassing. I often encounter mainland Chinese people, whether in Thailand or Singapore. When the staff in Singapore can't speak Chinese, some people start yelling, "Why can't you speak Chinese?" Even if the staff are Indian or Malay. But why can't you speak English in Singapore? It's simple. The official language in Thailand is Thai, and in Singapore, it's English. If you can't speak those languages, don't cause a scene trying to show off. Not everything should revolve around China. Both are Chinese, but one is on a Thai flight, disrespecting the language and culture of others, believing that the whole world should speak Chinese and revolve around her. The other, a Chinese person living in Singapore, feels embarrassed by such behavior, having witnessed similar incidents too many times. The both are Chinese, their attitudes are completely different. This difference arises simply from the fact that they live in different countries, receive different education, and have different life experiences. Ultimately, the standards they hold as individuals are shaped by these factors. So, what exactly is the difference between Chinese people living under the rule of the CCP and Chinese people living in Singapore? The cultural, economic, legal, and political differences between China and Singapore are vast. Singapore is located at the southern tip of the Malay Peninsula in Southeast Asia, where the Strait of the Malacca meets the Singapore Strait. It covers an area of about 728 square kilometers, making it one of the smallest countries in the world. With a population of around 5.7 million, Singapore was originally a maritime trade port dominated by Malays and deeply influenced by Indian and Indonesian cultures. In 1824, Singapore became a British colony, and by 1900, the Chinese had become the largest ethnic group in the country. Fast forward to 2025, and the ethnic composition of Singapore includes about 74% Chinese, 13% Malay, 9% Indian, and 4% other ethnicities. This is a nation that blends both Eastern culture and Western systems. In terms of culture, Singapore is a melting pot of multiple ethnicities, with Chinese, Malays, Indians, and other groups coexisting. The society places a strong emphasis on public etiquette, respect for the law, and social order, balancing individual freedom with social responsibility. The government focuses on education, moral values, and the development of citizens' qualities. Singapore's culture is diverse and inclusive, free from ideological or singular political influences. Under the rule of the CCP, traditional Chinese culture has been heavily politicized. The government has long used ideological education, such as the core socialist values, to control cultural discourse. Individual freedom and religious beliefs are tightly restricted, while social etiquette and civic values are largely shaped by official propaganda. The cultural traditions of a society once known for its emphasis on propriety have been partially lost under institutional pressures, with society as a whole showing more deference to authority than spontaneous civil behavior. Economically, Singapore has a highly open market economy that attracts global capital, with a particular focus on the rule of law and investment security. Both businesses and individuals are free to engage in international trade and financial activities. Economic policies are transparent, with the government playing a leading role in development while prioritizing efficiency and fairness. Innovation and high-tech industries are encouraged, making Singapore a financial hub in the Asian nations and a global trade center, drawing international companies to establish regional headquarters. Under the rule of the CCP, China's economy has experienced rapid growth, but state-owned enterprises and government intervention remain significant. Private companies and foreign investments face policy restrictions. Economic decisions are highly centralized, and market transparency is limited, with strict regulation on capital flow. International trade and investment are often influenced by political factors, such as trade friction, censorship, and policy risks. While China's overall economic size is vast, innovation and market vitality are constrained by the system compared to free market economies. In contrast, Singapore's rule of law is a cornerstone of its governance. The judiciary is highly independent, and courts are able to make rulings without political interference. Whether government officials, businesses, or ordinary citizens, everyone must abide by the law and are all equal before it. The law serves not only as a tool to punish violations, but also as a social contract, regulating behavior and maintaining public order in a civilized environment. The Singaporean government enforces law strictly and efficiently, with any violations of traffic, environmental, public order, or business regulations being dealt with according to the law. This legal culture ensures that citizens' freedoms and rights are protected, fostering a virtuous cycle of trust and order within society. In contrast, China's legal system under the CCP appears well structured on the surface, but is heavily influenced by the party's political will in practice. Judicial bodies lack independence, and courts must follow the party's decisions in major or politically sensitive cases. The standards for law enforcement often change depending on the needs of power or policy. Citizens and businesses seeking legal protection frequently face uncertainty, with their rights constrained by both the system and political factors. The law has become more of a tool to maintain regime stability rather than a safeguard for citizens' rights. Over time, this erodes public trust in the law, and citizens lack the motivation to follow rules voluntarily, relying instead on coercion from authorities to maintain social order. The political differences are even starker. Singapore operates under a democratic republic system with a stable parliamentary system and a separation of powers between the president and the prime minister. The government emphasizes the rule of law, integrity, and the efficiency of public services, while citizens have a certain degree of political participation and oversight. Social order and public rules are upheld voluntarily, and authority is derived from the system and efficiency rather than ideological enforcement. Political transparency is relatively high, though the ruling party has maintained a dominant position for a long time, which has also sparked some debate. In contrast, China is ruled by a single party authoritarian system, with political power highly concentrated in the hands of the CCP Central Committee and its General Secretary. Social and political life is strictly controlled, with limited political participation for citizens and suppression of dissent and independent opinions. The rule of law is often influenced by political will, and public policies tend to focus on maintaining regime stability. Freedoms are restricted, and individual rights often subordinate to the will of the state and the party. While Singapore is small, it maintains a civilized functioning through the rule of law, order, and a strong sense of social morality. On the other hand, despite China's immense national power, political repression and ideological interference have resulted in a society that lacks propriety, that nurtures civil behavior. For thousands of years, China has prided itself as a land of etiquette. Confucianism emphasizes the principle of cultivating oneself, managing the family, governing the nation, and bringing peace to the world, with a foundation in propriety and a priority on virtue. But in today's world, Chinese tourists, diplomats, and even some students abroad are often accused of being impolite, arrogant, and disrespectful of local cultures. This shift is not a reflection of a fundamental change in the nature of the Chinese people, but rather a result of the CCP regime reshaping the spiritual foundation of Chinese society. In traditional China, etiquette was not just a matter of etiquette, it was the outward expression of morality. Confucius said, "Without learning propriety, one cannot stand." Etiquette represented humility, respect, righteousness, and reverence for the heavens and fate. It was a form of self-restraint rooted in human nature and societal order. For thousands of years, China's culture of propriety has left an impression on the world, embodying values of gentleness, kindness, respect, thrift, and humility. Whether during the Tang dynasty's openness or the diplomatic rituals of the Ming and Qing dynasties, these practices reflected the confidence and poise of Chinese culture. After the CCP came to power in 1949, the traditional moral system was completely overturned. Confucian culture was branded as feudal dross. Family values, faith, and morality were replaced by class struggle. The principle of treating others with propriety became a casualty of the philosophy of struggle. The emphasis shifted from respecting teachers and valuing the way to rebellion is justified, and from honoring the elderly and loving the young to denouncing one's family members. Decades of political movements, such as the anti-rightist campaign, the Great Leap Forward, the Cultural Revolution, the one-child policy, and internet nationalism, have caused several generations of Chinese people to lose the foundation of propriety. In its place, power worship and utilitarian thinking have taken root. After the CCP's reform and opening up, China's economy soared and wealth rapidly increased, but the concept of moral education and the education system deteriorated into mere slogans. The idea that wealth equals success and strength equals correctness became mainstream. The state's propaganda, promoting the wolf warrior mentality, led some Chinese people to believe that being tough means being patriotic, and humility means weakness. This distorted form of nationalism has led to the misinterpretation of propriety as submission and the respect for other cultures as loss of sovereignty. As a result, in the international community, we no longer see the image of gentle and refined Chinese people. Instead, we witness behaviors such as cutting in line at airports, being loud and disruptive, damaging cultural relics at tourist sites, replacing communication with shouting at threats in diplomatic settings, and silencing differing voices in overseas communities with labels like anti-China or China-phobic. The core of CCP party culture is struggle, lies, and control. This culture has infiltrated education, diplomacy, and public discourse, leading to institutionalized rudeness. Diplomatic rudeness, such as wolf warrior rhetoric used to insult foreign journalists. Public rudeness, where online censorship prevents rational expression and instead promotes attacks on opponents. Cultural rudeness, where the China model is forcefully pushed onto others and demands for other countries to understand China. And civic rudeness, where living under a single ideological framework for so long has led to a lack of public morality, empathy, and social trust. For example, in July 2019, the deputy chief of mission at the Chinese embassy in Pakistan, Zhao Lijian, responded to a criticism of China's Xinjiang policies by former U.S. National Security Advisor Susan Rice on X. He described Rice as a disgraceful racist and shockingly ignorant. On June 24, 2021, the cultural counselor at the Chinese embassy in Pakistan, Zhang Keqing, posted an image on his X account showing a rude middle finger gesture, accompanied by Chinese captions saying, "We are trustworthy, lovable, and respectable to friends, but to enemies, we are wolf warriors." This act was widely criticized for not adhering to the professional conduct expected of diplomats and international etiquette. Zhang later deleted the tweet, stating that maintaining peace is China's core belief on the international stage. Such rudeness is not an isolated incident, but rather the result of the party culture shaped by the CCP. During the early years of China's reform and opening up in the 1990s, the world welcomed the Chinese, hardworking, law-abiding, and eager to learn. Today, the international community's impression of Chinese people has become divided. On one hand, there are high-tech talents and wealthy elites. On the other, there are travelers who are seen as loud, rude, and lacking in manners. Many countries have even introduced tourism behavior codes, with some hotels and tourist attractions posting signs in Chinese that read, "Please do not be loud" and "Please do not spit." These phenomena are not a sign of the decline of a nation, but rather a failure of the system to shape individuals' character. For Chinese society to regain traditional beliefs and universal values, it must restore respect for truth, compassion, and tolerance, replace ideological education with moral education, and learn to respect differences rather than using patriotism to justify rudeness. Only by shedding the influence of party culture and rebuilding faith and morality can China regain the respect of the world. Chinese people are not inherently rude, but when a regime destroys traditional ethics, faith, and reverence, no matter how much GDP is generated, it cannot buy back the dignity of the land of etiquette. In the international public discourse, there are often comparisons between China's economic achievements and those of Singapore. But true civilization is not merely about the accumulation of GDP numbers. It lies in whether the light of propriety still shines in the hearts of the people. Singapore, a small country with an area of less than 1,000 square kilometers, is celebrated as an island civilization due to its emphasis on order, the rule of law, and social morality. On the streets, people voluntarily line up, speak softly, and adhere to rules in public spaces. These seemingly small daily actions are the most genuine reflection of societal civilization. The government respects market operations, encourages innovation, and supports free trade, with economic development and societal order moving forward in tandem. Although the political system is not fully democratic, the combination of the rule of law, civil rights, and societal transparency allows for effective oversight of power, with the citizens' self-discipline serving as the driving force of society. Civilization is not measured by the size of a nation's power, but by whether the people maintain respect for others, for society, and for rules. Singapore's experience demonstrates to the world that order, the rule of law, and a sense of public morality can help a small nation thrive and endure. In contrast, the CCP's authoritarian system has caused a once civilized ancient nation to lose its rightful place in the world's cultural and moral landscape.